Hi everyone, it's the 20th of June 2024. I hope you're all doing really well. I'm Gary Waterman and I'm a former police, I normally would say officer, but I'm going to say constable. And that's because more recently I've been in touch with some great people in relation to what appears to have happened with the legal system and the judicial process, and the change in language that's been used to entrap people into this criminal system. So I was a former police constable. Okay, I joined the police to serve the people, to stop suffering, to stop victimization. I didn't join it to serve any corporation or any individual above government. I joined it to instill righteousness, integrity, and as I've said, protect the innocents and prevent suffering and victimization. Okay, that's why I joined the police. So I was a former police constable. I am also a Christian. Okay, and I believe that Christianity is instilled in me more than ever before, my moral integrity to do the right thing no matter what the consequences are. Okay, because I believe my moral conscience is the most valuable asset that I have. It doesn't matter what people offer me. If these people were to come and offer me £20 billion to stop what I'm doing, I would not do it because it would be wrong. Okay, that is worth far more to me than anything else. Okay, which comes on to my video that I'm going to show you now. Not my video, sorry, a video that I'm going to show you. And by chance it popped up on my TikTok this morning, and I think it's extremely relevant to what I'm doing and what is really a key message in all of this. Okay, now I've got lots of other videos I need to do, very impactful, very emotive and relevant videos, but I thought I would do this first because I think this is so important. So have a little watch.
Tell you a bit about the devil first, so that you've got a clear picture in your mind of what we're praying against. First of all, the Bible does not paint him as a horned creature with a forked tail. That's the sort of thing that makes us laugh at him, take him less than seriously. See, the Bible says he's a real person. The Bible never calls the devil it, always he. Next, the Bible says that he has a heart and a mind and a will, and if a heart and a mind and a will don't make a personality, I don't know what does. It talks about the devil's feelings, talks about his thoughts, and it talks about his motives. And that means to me a person. So the devil is not just a kind of vague word to sum up all the forces of evil in the world. No, he is a person in his own right. And if there were no human beings at all, Satan would still exist. Now, Jesus himself took Satan desperately seriously. He never made a joke about him. He never laughed at him. He never caricatured him. Here are some of the titles that Jesus gave Satan. He said he is the prince of this world. When Satan offered Jesus all the kingdoms of the world, Jesus did not say they are not yours to give, because he knew perfectly well they were Satan's to give. And it is a horrible thought, if you really realize it, that the world in which we live is ruled over by Satan. He is the prince of this world. But let's take it a step further. Do you know that another title Jesus gave to Satan? He said he's not only the ruler or prince of this world, he is the God of this world. The only other person beside his heavenly Father to whom Jesus ever applied the word God was Satan. He said, my heavenly Father is God of everything, but of this world, Satan is God, which means very simply not only that Satan controls this world and is able to manipulate science and education and politics for his own ends. More than that, Satan is actually the real God whom most people on earth worship, whether they know it or not. That behind so much religion, behind so much activity, Satan is the one who's being worshipped. He's the person. And even by some who go to church and chapel on Sunday, in reality, he's their God. For they worship the things that he offers them. They want the things of the world that he belongs to and rules over, rather than setting their mind on the things that are above, where Jesus is. And if you want this world, and if you want the things of this world, then I give you a piece of advice. Make Satan your God. If you want this world, he's a wonderful God to have, because he'll give it to you. There's always a price to pay. When the bill comes in, you may not be quite so happy, but he'll give it to you. He can give you money, he can give you fame, he can give you anything you want, because it's his to give. Where have you been, Satan, says God in the book of Job? Well, I've been patrolling the earth, I've been looking around my estate. And he had. Now let's get this clear. That doesn't mean that God is helpless in this world. It does mean, and we've got to think this through, that God is allowing Satan to be prince of this world and God of this world. He's allowed it. And people say, what does God think he's doing allowing that? Well, I would just say my only answer to that one is, what's he doing allowing you to be like you are? Why should you blame him for allowing Satan to rebel when he allowed you to? The answer is very simple. He's a father and he will not force any of his creatures to go his way. And he gives you freedom to rebel. And we can't grumble about him giving the angels freedom, though they have superior intelligence and strength, because he gave us the same freedom and we've used it in the wrong way. Do you know there are 2 books in the Bible that the devil hates more than any other 2 books in the Bible? Out of all 66, there are 2 that say more about him than any others, and it's these that he has attacked more than any others. They are the one at the beginning and the one at the end, Genesis and Revelation. And you know why he hates them? Because Genesis describes his devices and Revelation describes his doom. And he hates those 2 books. And there has been more scholarly attack on the book of Genesis than any other book, and more attempt to turn it into myth and legend and away from fact than any other book in the Bible. Why? Because Satan doesn't want you to believe that Genesis 3 ever happened. He doesn't want you to know how he got hold of Eve. He doesn't want you to believe that he said what he did to that first married couple. And he attacks the book of Genesis. But the other book which he hates more than any other is the book of Revelation, because as you read through that book you come to a point where it says that the devil himself will be cast into the lake of fire. Do you know that Jesus told us to pray every day about the devil? Do you know that? The original prayer that he taught his disciples when they said, Lord, teach us to pray, he said, pray like this, say, Dad in heaven. Then pray for the things he wants, his name, his will, his kingdom. Then he said, pray for the things you need. You need food, you need forgiveness. Then he said, finish by praying this, deliver us from the evil one. We've turned evil into a thing in our thinking. It's not a thing, it's a person. There's no evil anywhere in the universe apart from persons. Evil is an intensely personal thing. There's no love in the universe apart from persons who love. And so evil is personal. And Jesus said, pray daily, deliver us from the evil one. Start your prayer by thinking of your dad in heaven, but end your prayer by thinking of the devil on earth, and go out.
Take a look again now at this document, The Silent Weapons of Quiet Wars. And I think this is the best document to explain what exactly has gone wrong in all of this. Because this document corroborates and verifies and ties in with all of the evidence that I've exposed through Companies House and the other research. So I think it's really, really important. And I think it's also important because it relates heavily to, I believe, the video that I've just shown, and how religious establishments have been infiltrated and compromised throughout this, specifically to suit the needs of this fraud and the ultimate control over the people. Now, this document appears to be authentic, and it relates to the 1940s and 1950s, and it appears to show the plan by the international elite, who are a very small group of people who want to control the rest of the world to fit their own narratives and to suit their own needs. But of course, if that is happening through a criminal system, which is now very clearly there, then that will not work. It becomes an evil system, doesn't it? It goes against all that is good. It goes against truth, against transparency, against trust, integrity, and all of the things that we really need in this world to make it work. So let's have a little look at this document. And I do suggest you read the whole document. It's within my document file link, which is in the description of this video. I'm just going to talk about some bits of it because it's quite a large document. It says at the beginning here, just on the bottom bit of this page, this book contains an introductory description of the war, its strategies and weaponry. On page 5 it says silent weapon technology has evolved from operations research, strategic and tactical methodology developed under the military management in England during World War II. Now, I know there's a huge military background in relation to everything that I'm covering. You've only got to see that with the weapons manufacturing companies that are linked to the fraud. And also I haven't focused on it too much, but there are names of top military officials shown as directors within these companies where the fraud relates, and also where the child trafficking relates. And we know that there's a strong Freemasonry connection through this as well to actually Freemasonic locations and companies. Just looking towards the bottom here, the second to last paragraph. With these three inventions under their direction, those in positions of power strongly suspected that it was possible for them to control the whole world with the push of a button. Immediately, the Rockefeller Foundation got in on the ground floor by making a 4-year grant to Harvard College, funding the Harvard Economic Research Projects for the study of the structure of the American economy. 1 year later, in 1949, the United States Air Force joined in. Second paragraph down on this page. Engineered in the last half decade of the 1940s, the now quiet war machine stood, so to speak, in sparkling gold-plated hardware on the showroom floor by 1954. With the creation of the, don't know what that says, in 1954, the promise of unlocking unlimited source of fusion atomic energy from the heavy hydrogen in seawater and the consequent availability of unlimited social power became a possibility only decades away. The combination was irresistible. The Quiet War was quietly declared by the international elite at a meeting held in 1954. Now, the international elite, you may be aware, you have the World Economic Forum, who seems to be the advertised part of that. There will, of course, be people above those who are not putting their name onto the platform. But hopefully you'll know, when I presented all of my evidence to the World Economic Forum, to the FBI, to members of the World Health Organization and NATO, within 3 days, the head of the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab, resigned. I do not believe that is a coincidence, and I believe that shows that this fraud is the key to everything they've been doing. Just reading on. Under the line bit, it said, although the silent weapon system was nearly exposed 13 years later, the evolution of the new weapon system has never suffered any major setbacks. This volume marks the 25th anniversary of the beginning of the Quiet War. Already, this domestic war has had many victories on many fronts throughout the world. In 1954, it was well recognized by those in positions of authority that it was only a matter of time, only a few decades, before the general public would be able to grasp and upset the cradle of power, for the very elements of the new silent weapon technology were as accessible for a public utopia as they were for providing a private utopia. The issue of primary concern, that of dominance, revolved around the subject of the energy sciences. On page 7, halfway down, in 1954, this was the issue of primary concern. Although the so-called moral issues were raised, in the view of the law of natural selection, it was agreed that a nation or world of people who will not use their intelligence are no better than animals who do not have intelligence. Such a people are beasts of burden and stakes on the table by choice and consent. That says it all, doesn't it? So basically, these people believe that the majority of people are not intelligent enough to understand what is happening to them by these people, and therefore they deserve to be victimized, and they deserved and that could mean there's a lot of stuff to suggest that is literally what is happening, that last section, but I won't go too much into that. So you can see how evil this is. Okay, it was not required What was and should be required is truth, transparency, trust and integrity, and if necessary, incentivization through that transparency and choice. This is not how it should be. Reading on. Consequently, in the interest of future world order, peace and tranquility, it was decided to privately wage a war against the American public with an ultimate objective of permanently shifting the natural and social energy, in brackets wealth, of the undisciplined and irresponsible many into the hands of the self-disciplined, responsible and worthy few. So basically into the hands of the criminals, because this is a criminal system that they've created, okay? In order to implement this objective, it was necessary to create, secure and apply new weapons, which, as it turned out, were a class of weapons so subtle and sophisticated in their principle of operation and public appearance as to earn for themselves the name silent weapons. Now, I suspect they're referring through to the directed energy weapons that have probably been around a very long time, initially in the form of probably microwave technology, and now more recently in more developed technology. And you can go and look at Dragonfire as an example of those weapons that are now in place. Okay, page 8, second paragraph down. In order to achieve a totally predictable economy, the low-class elements of the society must be brought under total control, i.e., must be housebroken, trained and assigned a yoke and long-term social duties from a very early age before they have an opportunity to question the propriety of the matter. In order to achieve such conformity, the lower class family unit must be disintegrated. Wow, it's pretty tough reading, isn't it? By a process of increasing preoccupation of the parents and the establishment of government-operated daycare centres for the occupationally orphaned children. The quality of education given to the lower class must be of the poorest sort, so that the meat of ignorance, isolating the inferior class from the superior class, is and remains incomprehensible to the inferior class. Just next couple of lines down. This form of slavery is essential to maintain some measure of social order, peace and tranquility for the ruling upper class. Page 9. It makes no obvious explosive noises. It causes no obvious physical or mental injuries, and does not obviously interfere with anyone's daily social life. Yet it makes an unmistakable noise, causes unmistakable physical and mental damage, and unmistakably interferes with daily social life, i.e. unmistakable to a trained observer, one who knows what to look for. The public cannot comprehend this weapon, and therefore cannot believe that they are being attacked and subdued by a weapon. The public might instinctively feel that something is wrong, but because of the technical nature of the silent weapon, they cannot express their feeling in a rational way or handle the problem with intelligence. Therefore, they do not know how to cry for help and do not know how to associate with others to defend themselves against it. When a silent weapon is applied gradually to the public adjusts, adapts to its presence, and learns to tolerate its encroachment on their lives until the pressure, in brackets psychological via economic, becomes so great that they crack up. Therefore, the silent weapon is a type of biological warfare. It attacks the vitality, the options and mobility of the individuals of society by knowing, understanding, manipulating and attacking their source of natural and social energy and their physical, mental and emotional strengths and weaknesses. So you can see how long this has been planned, and this is why everything is coming to a head now. This is planned through their technology to get people to rely on the technology, to feel as though it was a good thing initially, but it is ultimately to lead to full control, full manipulation, full population control through slavery and very, very sinister means. On page 46, it has this table of strategies On the left, the do's. On the right, to or to get. Keep public ignorant. Okay, I'm not going to read all of these. If you read further down, the fourth one, attack the family unit in the right-hand column. Control of the education of the young. Next column down, give them less cash and more credit and doles. Onto the right, more self-indulgence and more data. Next one down on the left, attack the privacy of the church, okay? Number right, destroy faith in this sort of government. Destroy faith in the church. You'll know that they're trying to create the disestablishment of the Church of England. That has been a new bill they're trying to pass in government as we speak. Reading on. In fact, I'll go down to almost the last one on the left. Maximize control. Ultimate objective. Next one down. Collapse of currency to the right. Destroy the faith of the American people in each other. And now this is obviously being used right around the world now. Page 47. Diversion, the primary strategy. Experience has proven that the simplest method of securing a silent weapon and gaining control of the public is to keep the public undisciplined and ignorant of basic systems, principles on the one hand, while keeping them confused, disorganized and distracted with matters of no real importance on the other hand. This is achieved by number one, disengaging their minds, sabotaging their mental activities. Notice the very destructive adjectives, I believe they are, aren't they? Attacking, sabotaging. They're all evil, sinister practices towards individuals generally. Certainly in the context they're being used here. Reading on. Activities by providing a low quality program of public education in mathematics, logic, systems designs and economics, and by discouraging technical creativity. Number two, engaging their emotions, increasing their self-indulgence and their indulgence in emotional and physical activities by A, unrelenting emotional affrontations and attacks, in brackets, mental and emotional rape, close brackets, by way of constant barrage of sex, violence and wars in the media, especially the TV and the newspapers. 2B, giving them what they desire in excess, junk food for thought, and depriving them of what they really need. Number three, what do we really need? We need support, emotional support. Obviously, we need food and the basic things, but we also need to feel valued. We need to feel that we're worthy of others. That we need to value ourselves, to feel like we can do good, that we can achieve something. You know, these are really important things, but they take that away. Instead, and if you read all of this document, you'll see that tobacco, alcohol has been used, and drugs have been used to suppress the public. It will obviously to create depression, to create anxiety, so they don't know the truth, so they don't stand up for what their rights are, so they aren't confident. And of course, this then creates problems with depression, with, as we've said, depression, anxiety, self-harming, suicides, family separations. It has all been done deliberately, okay? You've even got drug rehabilitation centres, tobacco companies, alcohol companies, all the way through this, that are part of these illegal entities, companies, this fraudulent system, okay? Reading on. Number three, rewriting history and law and subjecting the public to the deviant creation, thus being able to shift their thinking from personal needs to highly fabricated outside priorities. Can you see how sinister this is? Can you see how this ties in with everything that's being exposed now through my evidence and others? It does not need to be like this, people. Reading on. These preclude their interest in and discovery of the silent weapons of social automation technology. The general rule is that there is profit in confusion. The more confusion, the more profit. Therefore, the best approach is to create problems and then offer the solutions. Let's just think about these people. I mean, they've clearly thought that evil deeds would be the correct procedure to bring about peace on earth. Who in their right mind thinks that? It is inevitable that it is going to end in absolute disaster for everybody. Reading on, the media keep the adult public attention diverted away from real social issues and captivated by matters of no real importance. Schools keep the young public ignorant of real mathematics, real economics, real law, and real history. Entertainment keep the public entertainment below a 6th grade level. Work keep the public busy, 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 with no time to think. Back on the farm with the other animals. Consent, the primary victory. A silent weapon system operates upon data obtained from a docile public by the legal, but not always the lawful, force. Much information is made available to silent weapon systems programs through the International Revenue Service. So they're talking about tax and using it. I'll let you read this, but it talks about documents. There's lots of sinister things in relation to that. The collection of taxes. Page 49, halfway down, 3rd paragraph. As time goes on and communication and education improve, the lower class elements of the social labour structure become knowledgeable and envious of the good things that the upper class members have. They also begin to attain knowledge of energy systems and the ability to enforce their rise through the class structure. Now, on that point, I wouldn't change places with these people for anything. They have sold their souls to the devil. Okay, that's where they've gone wrong here. I wouldn't swap my life for theirs in a million years, because they've sold themselves to the devil. And this relates back to that video, doesn't it? Very strongly. And anyone that agrees with this system, they are selling themselves to the devil. Okay, their souls are lost. They can all be saved. They can all be saved through truth, repentance, and true commitment to change. But it appears they're not willing to do that. Reading on. This threatens the sovereignty of the elite. If this rise of the lower classes can be postponed long enough, the elite can achieve energy dominance. And they're almost there, people. They are almost there through their digital currency, through their energy weapons that are now in place. It's no longer a conspiracy. Okay, they almost have digital currency in place and they are looking to remove cash. We are in very serious trouble if that happens. Even those coming through power now, Nigel Farage, although he stated, I believe, to remove central bank digital currency, that hasn't changed the ability for other digital currency systems to come in. Just reading on. Until such energy dominance is absolutely established, the consent of people to labour and let others handle their affairs must be taken into consideration, since failure to do so could cause the people to interfere in the final transfer of energy source to the control of the elite. It is essential to recognise that at this time, public consent is still an essential key to the release of energy in the process of economic amplification. Therefore, consent is an energy release mechanism will now be considered. In other words, people, if we want to stop this, we do not consent. Okay, everyone needs to not comply peacefully anymore to this system is in place. That will compel a change in the system. If necessary, the people can go and arrest all of these people and remove them from power peacefully. Okay, if that's what it takes, we must change this. Page 50, the last paragraph, the political structure of a nation dependency. The primary reason why the individual citizens of a country create a political structure is a subconscious wish or desire to perpetuate their own dependency relationship of childhood. Simply put, they want a human god to eliminate all risks from their life. Remember what we said about that video, how that relates to this. Pat them on the head, kiss their bruises, put a chicken on every dinner table, clothes on their body, tuck them into bed at night and tell them everything will be all right when they wake up in the morning. How patronizing is this, guys? And it appears authentic, and this ties in with everything, doesn't it, really? Everything we're now seeing coming to a head, it all makes sense from this document. Reading on, this public demand is incredible. So the human god, the politician, meets incredibility with the incredibility by promising the world and delivering nothing. So who is the bigger liar, the public or the Godfather? This public behaviour is surrender born of fear, laziness and expedience. It is the basis of the welfare state as a strategy weapon useful against a disgusting public. Sorry, that wasn't me, that was my dog, bless him. Action and offensive. Reading on. Most people want to be able to subdue and or kill other human beings which disturb their daily lives, but they do not want to have to cope with the moral and religious issues which such an overt act on their part might raise. Therefore, they assign the dirty work to others, including their own children, so as to keep the blood off of their own hands. They rave about the humane treatment of animals and then sit down to a delicious hamburger from a whitewashed slaughterhouse down the street and out of sight. But even more hypocritical, they pay taxes to finance a professional association of hitmen collectively called politicians and then complain about corruption in government. Guys, if that does not tell you what is happening, nothing else will. If you do not all change your perception on this now and stop complying, it's the end of the road for everyone. Okay, and no, you won't be saved. Anyone that carries on will not be saved from these individuals, but also on a spiritual realm. Okay, our money is being used to cause crime and suffering to many, many people. Okay, these people are mocking the general public. They are laughing at the general public. There's even, remember, you've got a company called Slaves Limited. You've got various highlighted, clear symbols. So there's symbolism in everything they do. They have literally taken advantage and exploited most people for a very, very long time. Not going to read all of this page, but maybe read that you should read the whole document, really. It's so important. But 2/3 down, under the last number, okay, this is basically what they feel we need politicians for, okay. But I'll read the bottom bit there. Politicians hold many quasi-military jobs, the lowest being the police, who are soldiers, the attorneys and the CPAs, next who are spies and saboteurs, in brackets licensed, and the judges who shout the orders and run the closed union military shop for whatever the market will bear. The generals are industrialists. The presidential level of commanders-in-chief is shared by the international bankers. The people know that they have created this farce, it is a farce, and financed it with their own taxes, in brackets, consent, but they would rather knuckle under than be the hypocrite. Thus a nation becomes divided into two very distinct parts, a docile sub-nation and political sub-nation. The political sub-nation remain attached to the docile sub-nation, tolerates it and leeches into substance until it grows strong enough to detach itself and devour its parent. Page 53 goes into the draft about recruiting people into the army, and I found this particularly sinister at the top here. Few efforts of human behaviour modifications are more remarkable or more effective than that of the socio-military institution known as the draft. A primary purpose of a draft or other such institution is to instill by intimidation in the young males of a society the uncritical conviction that the government is omnipotent. Okay? He is soon taught that a prayer is slow to reverse what a bullet can do in an instant. Thus, a man trained in religious environment for 18 years of his life can, by this instrument of the government, be broken down, be purged of his fantasies and delusions in a matter of mere months. Once that conviction is instilled, all else becomes easy to instill. Even more interesting is the process in which a young man's parents, who purportedly love him, can be induced to send him off to war to his death. Although the scope of this work will not allow this matter to be explained in full detail, nevertheless, of course, overview will be possible and can serve to reveal those factors which must be included in some numerical form. I mean, why, goodness me, this is all a game, isn't it? It's all a game. It's a theatre and a show causing suffering, death, deceit, abuse beyond imagine. It's just awful, people. We need to change this as soon as possible. Page 56. I do suggest you read the whole document. There's bits in there I've missed where it mentions literally deliberate genocide, okay, which ties in with all of the conflicts we've got, and them suggesting that the war is necessary. It's very clear that the war is a theatre, it's a show. It's not what we're being led to believe. It is all about this system of fraud, the control, the deception, the lies, abuse, suffering. I mean, it's evil, people. It's evil, and it relates very heavily to that video that we've just seen. But this is the last bit I'm going to read. As the transition becomes more difficult to manage, the family unit must be carefully disintegrated, and state-controlled public education and state-operated child care centres must become more common and legally enforced, so as to begin the detachment of the child from the mother and the father at an early age. Inoculation of behavioural drugs can speed the transition for the child. Mandatory. Caution: a woman's impulsive anger can override her fear. An irate woman's power must never be underestimated, and her power over a pussy-whipped husband must likewise never be underestimated. It got women the vote in 1920. Hopefully you found that as impactful as I did, especially the video, and hopefully you realised how that document, The Silent Weapons of Quiet Wars, relates to the evidence that I've been presenting and exposing, and it does appear to be an authentic leaked document. We're in extremely interesting times, unprecedented times, and it must be resolved in the right way whilst we have this golden opportunity to do so. And there is something that we can all do. Whether it be you just go and share the evidence with your local community, you take the flyers from my document file link, or use your own flyers and go and deliver those in your local community. Put them up in a shop window, put them in your local community hall. Get people to see the truth as to what has been happening. And this is it. This is the key to all of the problems, or most of the problems certainly, that we've been having in the world, unquestionably, okay? Form local groups in your area, local groups within your community. Go and join local groups. Go to meetings and put your councillors and your MPs, your chief of police and your police and crime commissioners on notice, with an official notice to resign if they're not going to address this. This is what they're there for. They should be there to serve you, the public, the people, to help them, especially with something as serious as this, okay? There are children's safety at risk. There is your own financial security at risk. Put them on notice to resign. If necessary, we'll have to form groups to go and arrest these individuals. In an absolute worst case scenario, that might be what we have to do to remove them from their position of allowing this system of crime to continue. We cannot have an organised crime group, which is what this is, running the world. It just will not work. Okay, within your groups, contact me if you want, and we can do a Zoom call to actually share the evidence and the information that I'm able to acquire with you, so you can do it yourself, so you can build your own evidence against your MPs if necessary, and your councillors. Okay, I haven't been contacted by any organisation about this, despite so many reports, and that is because they know how serious it is. They know it is over. The system they have used to exploit and defraud many of us is over, along with all of the sinister activities that have been being used in that process. Okay, hopefully you would have seen the call that I made to HMRC almost 3 months ago now. Within that call, the call handler agreed with me that the taxation system is criminal and fraudulent. Okay, I put that call into the public domain. I was told I'd receive a call within 2 days to finalise my complaint about it. I've heard nothing ever since. I made a second call explaining the situation, recorded that call and put it public. I've heard nothing ever since. Okay, after that, HMRC said they're going to be closing the self-employment lines. Okay, now they've called a snap general election and they've dissolved, meaning the politicians will not be addressing this for some time. I suspect that's to bide time for their plan, which could be very, very sinister indeed. They are clearly wanting to expedite a removal of cash from society. That is very dangerous for us all, because that means we will not have the ability to withhold our taxes as a peaceful protest against any criminal government and their policies, such as reducing the age of sexual consent to 10 or lower, which appears to be what they were going to do. If that happens, we are all in serious trouble. So you could stop paying all of your taxes now, okay, as a form of peaceful protest. I advise you to do that. We can no longer be complicit to aiding and abetting this criminal system of fraud. If we continue paying, we are actually committing a criminal offence of aiding and abetting this fraudulent criminal system, which is causing the suffering to millions of people. Very sinister suffering as well, too. It appears, with the child trafficking and very sinister things going on there, but also with the illegal wars that we're seeing, and also with the financial suffering to millions just through this fact of this being enabling the ability for the disparity between the rich and poor. It's got to stop, and we all have a part to play. We can no longer ignore this. The evidence is overwhelming. You need to stand up, you need to be counted, and you need to unite with the rest of us to change the system, okay? There is no way out of this now other than to ensure that there is a transparent taxation system at the source of payments, so people can see the collective income of the taxes and the referenced expenditure to see how that money is being spent, so that we can be sure it is not being used to victimise individuals, okay? There's no point in the council now typing up their figures separate from the source of the payment. It's not going to work because they've lost the trust. It has to be at the source of the payment. The technology is there to do it. Ask yourselves, why hasn't that already been in place? It requires full verification of company registrations to bring back accountability and liability for incorporations and people involved in incorporations. Ask yourself why that has not been done and why they continue not to do it. Ask yourself, why is there no strict legislation with very serious consequences for politicians or people in authority to prevent them making decisions for themselves or affiliated decisions for others? We need to ensure that the decisions that anybody in a position of authority is making is for the good of the general public, for the people and as a whole, and for the environment. We need to be sure of that. They need to ensure that there is better legislation to protect people in relation to real estate, signed management contracts, okay, to bring back accountability and liability for management companies to manage real estate, ensuring that they have been verified to know that we have, that real people are actually linked to these companies that are accountable, okay? Why isn't there a transparent financial system in relation to the management of real estate so that people can see the source of payments, the collective income in relation to that real estate, and the reference expenditure in relation to that real estate? This is so important. Ask yourselves, why are they now expediting a move to remove cash, okay, to a digital currency system? Ask yourselves, why are they now so panicky in doing that? It's because of this exposure. It cannot happen, people. Everyone, This is completely resolvable. We can do this peacefully. It has to happen. And anybody that does not come together to try and address this and play their part is only ensuring that we head into a very dark time. Look at that video again. Look at what that video is telling us. This is our opportunity to change things, to truth, transparency, and trust. It's absolutely possible. Okay? And I believe there is eternal consequences for those that do not stand up to this in the right way and compel a change. We can do this, I promise you. God bless you all.